On another magical episode of the Animation Deliberation podcast, I hope your mind is charged up because we are talking Black Clover seasons 1 through 4. Right after these ads, we have no control over. Sing along if you know the words. A 1, 2, 3, it's time for Animation Deliberation. A conversation and a celebration of a favorite action animated series. Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Animation Deliberation, the podcast where we take action animation and cartoons seriously, but not too seriously. I'm your host, Suhara Lee, and joining me today is one of the hosts of Source Pages, a reading collective podcast, Mr. Brian V Klein. How you doing, bud?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing? And I don't know why I just went with my podcaster voice there with the inflections.
I mean, we are podcasting, so it is appropriate.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a podcasting voice though, but it's just
mine's all giddy and excited, and yours like, "Hello there."
I can tell when you're really animated in your cold open intro. It's like, but why wouldn't you be? This is a great show.
I know, right? But like everyone who talks to me beforehand like sees how exhausted I am before we hit record, and then it's like, switch on, let's go.
It's like, okay.
All right, so we are here to talk about Black Clover because the movie is dropping June 16th on Netflix. For full disclosure, it is the end of March as we are recording this, in case I take a little longer than I should to put this up. But, you know, I started watching the show because I had my shoulder surgery, and I thought this movie was coming out in March. So I was like, well, I'm home all day, every day anyways. I want to have some content for this. I knew nothing about the show, went into it, and it became like part of my life. Like I was just vicariously living this life of Clover Kingdom as I was in recovery, to the point where when the next episode button was gone, I was in a state of depression for like 3 days. I was like, what do I do with my life? It's over. I need to move. No show could fill this void right now. This is so incredible. Why have I waited so long? But where's the rest of it?
I told you, it's one of those shows where I watched it, a while ago and then rewatched it. And then, kept mentioning like, hey, Black Clovers, you guys it's just so captivating because it's got a concept that's, I guess, for what you were saying, I've never watched Naruto because, the early season animation on it is so terrible, right?
I'm sure it is.
But I guess it has a kind of connection to that. But it's one of those shows. It's just any great show where an arc ends and you're like, okay, what are they going to do? And then they top it. And then they top it again. I mean, we've got 170 episodes of this. And it just seemed like when they went from one thing to the next, it was just like, holy crap. It just keeps getting more and more. Just, you can't stop. I mean, there's only a handful of but anime does that. If it's a good storytelling across the board, you can, fly through things a lot quicker. This show was also, it fits well with the binge method because of just how linear and good the storytelling is. And also I appreciate the fact that the show doesn't have, or didn't seem like it had, a lot of shows sometimes will have the beginning of the show is, 2 minutes of the opening and the opening song, and then 3 minutes of what happened at the end of the last episode. So now you only have like 15 minutes of shit. It didn't seem like it did that a lot. So like some shows do.
Yeah, it was a lot of times where they just kind of put it in when it was necessary, as opposed to just going to the recap, which, as you just said, for binging, it was fantastic. But at the same time, like, you don't always want to skip the songs because the songs are great, but we'll get to that part later.
No. That's what's perfect. And that's why I don't like, I had to, there's right now, it just seems like anime is on every streaming network there is out there, every streaming platform, and multiple for some reason for the same shows. I mean, for mostly everything is going to be on Funimation / Crunchyroll because Funimation seems like those guys own or have a foot in everything.
Yeah.
But I had to watch. I'm taking right now. I'm taking a very big leap. Where not big leap, but it's a big commitment. Where you saw this like about a month and a half, maybe the beginning of February. I decided I wanted to pick back up and watch One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
because it had been a while and I knew exactly where I was, but I started watching. I'm like, none of this seems familiar. You know what? I'm going to start over.
For
And
the
I did.
listeners, I need you to know that there's a pirate flag hanging in the background too.
Oh yeah, that's the Straw Hat Straw Hat Pirates there. I've had that for a while. I pulled it out, and I've had that up for a while too. Um, if you watch stuff on Netflix, they not only and Hulu does it too with like Demon Slayer. Like they cut the music. Not only the option to skip it, which is fine if you don't want to hear it all the time, but like Demon Slayer on Hulu doesn't have like the full intro song. It only has like the pickup, like it's like 17 seconds long if you
Oh,
ever look at it.
interesting.
Yeah. And the same thing with like, I had to watch a few episodes of One Piece on uh, Netflix because for some reason Funimation wasn't picking it up. Now, the thing that sucks about this is the first like 200 episodes. Okay, for people that don't know, I mean, if you're animation fans, you probably know this, but One Piece is got about 1,055 episodes, and I'm on
Oh,
episode
that's
like,
it?
yeah, I'm on episode. I made it up to. I started at 1, and I'm on like 240 something right now. So I've been hitting it pretty good. But for like the first 200 episodes was full frame because it
Mm-hmm.
was took place in the 90s. They didn't have the widescreen. Netflix just stretched it. That's all they did.
Ew.
They cut the top and bottom. So there's sometimes you're watching it going like, what am I looking at here? So it's sort of, when it comes to anime, you go and sort of suss out what's the best option for you to watch. Mainly too is, this is a hill I'll die on. I am a diehard sub fan. I don't care for the dubs. I mean, I'm dub fan. Sorry.
Okay, I was like,
No,
I thought it was the other way
no,
around.
no. I get so connected to the characters, the American voices of them.
Yeah.
Asta in this show, Luffy, it's
Mm-hmm.
just there's certain characters, Natsu especially in Fairy Tale. When you watch the OVAs, which most OVAs for some things
All
are
Might.
All Might, exactly, and even like Deku, it just the voices when I'm watching them in Japanese, the voices they seem to blend together. They don't
Sure.
have as much distinction, mainly because I don't know the language.
Yeah.
But I'm so used to having, on Fairy Tale, Happy have a certain voice, and then you hear
Mm-hmm.
it in the Japanese, and it's like that doesn't even sound like the same type of character. It just sounds like a person talking to him sometimes. So, but that's
Yeah.
just me. But
Yeah, I'm really hoping that this movie, because it is coming out directly to Netflix, it will be in theaters in Japan, that it actually has the dub option right off the bat, because I'm just invested in those voices now.
mm-hmm.
As you know, when I'm this invested in a show like with My Hero or Attack on Titan, like I can't wait for the dub. I have to watch the sub, but I always give it justice by once the season is over, I watch again. So I'm hoping that I can still enjoy the dub. Anybody who's gonna watch with me, they're just gonna have to suck it up because it's incredible, and we're going with it. So a lot of the similarities that you mentioned that this had with Naruto. So it is the same studio, Studio Pierrot, and it was basically like right as Shippuden wrapped up, they started working on this. And when I started the first episode, I thought that I was just watching like Naruto in a different part of the multiverse because instead of chakra, they have mana and they still have the villages. And as soon as he said, I'm going to be the Wizard King, instead of Naruto saying, I'm going to be the Hokage, I was like, this is the exact same premise. And somebody even said, like, this was the most shonen jump that shonen could jump. And I lost it the first time I heard that. But then the most interesting thing happened is that when we got to the part where the kingdom was attacked for the first time, that was when like the predictability kind of went out the window. There are a lot of similarities structure wise, but story wise, that was what you were saying that makes it such a great binge show is that every time you think that the action is over and that we have a little bit of peace for our heroes, something comes in and just messes it back up all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the arc is non-stop action for episode after episode after episode. Like you can't not like watch 3 hours at a time because you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, how is this still going on right now?
It's a time sucker because it's just like next thing you know, like, oh man, I didn't watch. It's 2:30 in the morning. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I couldn't sleep because I was in pain anyway. So I was up till 3, 4 in the morning, just happy, like la 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 la, and the medicine will kick in and I'm knocked out. So oxycodone kind of forced me to take breaks. But aside from that, like, man, the story, the action, the powers, like, I was just blown away. Like, I say that Naruto is my favorite anime of all time, and because this was so similar to it, it was a very difficult void to fill as soon as I caught up. I was like, I need more right now.
Imagine what's going to be like when they finally continue start season 5 to finish the story. It's going to be like, oh, you're going to have to do it in the 1 week, time frame, and then wait, like you're doing now with like My Hero or any other show that is you're caught up. That's the binge method is great. Or you could just go back and be like, oh, I'll rewatch this now, because that way you could I watched episode 170.
Oh, I'm too invested to wait.
There were some things I forgot about it, for people that didn't know, this was a show that they basically said end of season 4, show's done, because there's no manga to continue. But when you watch it, there's no way in hell they could end a show where they did.
Yeah, that was one hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean, especially the whole thing with Liba, which is the devil that is in the grimoire that is, helping Asta, the main character. They finally meet. He finally understood. We finally get a resolution almost, well, not officially, but it's pretty much we know who Asta's mom is.
Yeah, that was big.
That was just like big. As soon as and Liba's the one that put the 2 and 2 together. I mean, that was not as big of a shock as when we find out who Yuma is, like.
Eunice? Excuse me,
when it's like, oh, he's the prince of the Diamond Kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's just in the Diamond Kingdom now, for people that don't, okay, so it took me a little bit when I was watching it to realize, oh, okay, the 4 kingdoms are Diamond, Clover, Heart.
Same.
It's like, oh, okay, it's the suits of cards. So
yeah, that took me a minute too. Don't feel ashamed.
But what they did was, when they stopped production, and they had a little bit of a halt with the production of the manga. So now that the manga, and they've even said it's finishing up, or maybe it just did finally finish up. The manga did. So now they have enough material to finish the anime, because he's just like, I don't want to do.
They have this movies just to kind of buy time while they're working on the actual series. And you shared a fun tidbit with me about that today.
Oh, so the movie is a story by Yuki Tabata or whatever you want to call him. He's the guy that created Black Clover. So this is a rare occurrence where the show is actually it's anime canon. It's not going to be canon as far as the manga goes, because if it doesn't have a manga, it's not canon. But since it's done, it's basically a new story where, I don't know how much you talked about it, where it's called Sword of the Wizard King. And
we haven't talked about it on the show at all. This is like the first Black Clover animation Deliberation's ever seen.
Yeah, so basically he's going to have to go back and fight some of the previous Wizard Kings. And he's even said that there's going to be references to it in the final season of the show. That. So obviously it's one of those things too, where it's like, you got to think there's a lot of plot armor in here. That in the movie, certain things can't happen when it comes to characters. This is one of those shows too, where you don't really feel main characters are at threat to die, because there's so much at stake, and also how much popular they are. I mean, even in the show, Julius, the Wizard King, dies, but he doesn't really die because he comes back as a kid.
And then we see him as an adult in the trailer. So it's like, but Asta's wearing his time skip outfit. So it's like, where are we right now?
Right. So basically, I could just, the quick thing, if you want me to, I could read the plot of the movie quick.
Sure.
Where it just is like, Asta, a boy born with no magic in a world where magic is everything, and his rival, a genius mage chosen by the legendary 4-leaf grimoire, have together fought a number of powerful enemies to prove their power beyond adversary and aim for the top mage, Wizard King. Standing in front of Asta and who dream of becoming the Wizard King, are the Wizard Kings from the past. Conrad Leto, Julius Novachromo's predecessor, Wizard King, once respected by the people of Clover Kingdom, but suddenly rebelled against the kingdom and was sealed away, has been resurrected. Ooh. Now he aims to use the Imperial Sword to resurrect the 3 most feared Wizard Kings in history. Ooh. Edward Avalanche, Princia Funny Bunny, and Jester Garandaros and take over the Clover Kingdom. The boy who dreams of becoming the Wizard King versus the Wizard Kings from the past. An all-out war begins.
So there's more similarities to Naruto that when the Great Ninja War began, the villain had this reincarnation jutsu. So as long as he had the DNA of the person that he wanted to resurrect and sacrifice, he could bring them back, but they're like immortal until they're sealed. So it's crazy seeing these similarities. So he got some of the most terrifying ninjas like resurrected, and then they were just like at war against them. So it's cool seeing the similarities between Naruto and this because Lord knows there's so many of them. But the fact that they have an insane way of putting their own spin on it, and you talk about the plot armor of knowing the characters that are alive because we've seen season 4. I think the really important thing about movies nowadays is that everything kind of has a predictability nature. Like people don't go into movies wanting to be blown away. They're trying to figure it out before it happens. So I think what makes a movie good nowadays is if you know what's going to happen, but they, whether it be through the music or the dialogue or the relationships, is giving you that essence of intensity and emotion to be like, I know he's alive, but I'm still on the edge of my seat, concerned for him, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And especially with this and with especially the anime movies, is that there is no manga to like base it off of, to be like, oh, I already know what's going to happen. Not like, where with the Demon Slayer, the Mugen Train, it was a movie, but it technically was an arc from the manga. So that, spoiler alert for a 3-year-old movie, Rengoku's going to die. Yeah. So,
but then you have the first My Hero Academia movie where it's like, it's technically not canon, but the manga, the manga canon in the anime has reference like going to the island to like meet the scientist, the American sidekick that he had at one point. And even the current season right now, like the braces that Deku has are from that same American scientist. So they like reference the movie without it ever technically being canon, but the other 2 movies aren't. So it's like, it's crazy how they kind of like tiptoe that line of like keeping it, but not like throwing off the balance of everything.
I think they could do that with the anime too, is because they're not always fully beholden to the manga. Like they nip and tuck stuff and can add, like how they said they're going to add references to this Black Clover movie in the final season. It's not going to change anything. It's just going to be like it'll be like the whole Leo sitting on the couch with the I see it.
Yeah.
If anything,
it's a little bump in the road.
Yeah, the creators of anime are very, I think, loyal to their fan bases and to where they're, they understand them and they go, okay, we're going to do this the right way. Hence where, like I said, they didn't pull we were discussing before the show, how some of the shows back when they were being created while the manga was still around, Fullmetal Alchemist being one of them, it overpassed the manga and then just went to crap.
Yeah.
Like it changed. It went Game of Thrones where it didn't have the source material to base it off of. Where this one, they're like, okay, we caught up. We're just going to wait. And so that's where we're at right now. So
yeah, pacing is definitely crucial in a situation like that, but I would rather wait and the studios and creators keep us in the loop of like, hey, you're going to have to wait 2 years, but you are getting something. As opposed to like what Sword Art Online did for the longest time, where it's like, are you going to have one? Are you not? We'll know when you know. Like, no. I need to know.
Yeah, that's one show that bothers me too, where it's just like, they say it's going to continue, but is it going to continue? One Punch Man is another one where it's like, we know that there is a season 3 pretty much done. They just don't have a studio that they're working with now to put it. It's just sort of like
with Mappa, and it's coming out this summer. But
what is?
Mappa is doing One Punch Man, and it's coming out this summer.
Okay, cool.
Breaking news.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's another one where it ended at a certain way where it's like, okay, is Saitama gonna be able to get out of this? And then it's like, because it turns out something happens where it's One Punch is not enough. So
yeah, well, the final season of Attack on Titan has been over 3 years now. It started at the end of 21, and now we thought we were going to have weekly episodes, and it was just 2. And it's like, wait till November for the rest. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And we didn't even know that until we watched it. It's insane. Just communicate with us fans. Like, all we want to do is support you guys.
Right. And I saw some sort of, I think you sent it to me, one of those memes where it seemed like, because they were talking about how Attack on Titan was coming back the same day that Demon Slayers when they did
That's exactly what happened.
But it made it sound like that fans aren't liking Attack on Titan, or is it that they're changing the ending to it or something? Or it's, I mean,
my understanding is that people didn't like the ending of the manga, but there's no confirmation of if the anime is going to keep that ending or rewrite it.
Okay.
So
that's a show.
We'll know in November.
I think I've watched the first episode of Attack on Titan like 5 times. Like, I've always started it, and then something else popped up, and then I just never got back to it. So I know
that's me with Bleach.
The first Bleach or the new Bleach?
I'm caught up on the new Bleach. I'm trying to rewatch the old Bleach, and I keep getting distracted.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes of that one too. So,
dude, I skipped 2-3 seasons because they were all filler. We need to have a whole episode where we just catch up on anime, but to stay on Black Clover.
Okay.
There was a lot of great arcs in this. This was a lot of great action, great storytelling. Do you have a favorite arc?
I think there's because it's a longer arc. I think the Dark Elves arc was fantastic. That one just like it, man, you didn't know what was going on because you had the knights, the magic knights that were going like, listen, we can't do everything we need to do to defeat these because they're possessing our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, and plus it was amazing how sort of was like possessed, but he was just like, yeah, you're not overtaking me though. That just shows how powerful he is.
That's what threw me off, is I thought that was the big reveal about was that he was an elf.
No.
Because this was before we saw like everybody else transform too. So I was like, oh, you guys got me. I thought that was it. But what makes you special is the fact that you didn't get possessed by an elf, but you still got the power boost.
Yeah. It was sort of just like the guy was probably just like, hey, wait, what the heck happened here? I'm supposed to have the, like, he's still, it's like he's still stuck in the, the back of the guy's mind. Like he has no control. But yeah, that whole arc, because of just the storytelling and just even like the way it sort of continued after. I don't want to, like, when they went into the was it like the Nether Realm where they ended up fighting the devil? Well, they were still. It was like after the
I forgot what it was called, but I know what you're talking about. Just that other devil dimension.
But as soon as pretty much after the Dark Elves arc, any sustained like lightheartedness, because there were some times where, like, especially when they were doing some of the games, and it could be 15, 20 episodes in a row of it being sort of just like, hey, this is fun. Because as serious as we're talking with Black Clover, there is a lot of humor and just goofiness.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, friggin' the main guy, the captain, Yami of the Black Bulls, his catchphrase is probably, I gotta take a dump. I mean, he's always talking about taking dumps. So that just shows how goofy it is. But afterwards,
Finral always having to teleport him to the toilet.
Yeah, he's like, come on, don't I have anything better to do? But then you also have Finral, the relationship with him and his brother, who's the coach, the coach vice captain of the Golden Dawn. It's just like, man, he hates him. So there's just so much, like, anything can go from being just like, oh my god, this is so lighthearted, to like, wham, hits you. Mm-hmm. But then it's goofy too back in it, because like Gordon and his whole like creepy goth, he whispers everything and everyone's his best friend. But then, that whole side of the fact that he's part of like the Addams family or the Munsters or whatever. It's like, but after the Dark Elves arc, it just seemed like it was just, you had the whole thing where they were trying Asta, and that, like, they were trying to basically just like blacklist the Black Bulls and like arrest all of them and kill them. And then they were just like, okay, well, we're going to fight here. And then with the whole Diamond Kingdom and stuff like that, it's just like, man, it's just, no one's safe. And as far as like, no one's dying, but it's just like, it's the fun the lightheartedness was gone. It was still fun, but it was just sort of like, man, stakes is high right now.
Yeah, for sure. And it was very optimistic the way that season 4 started because everyone got their glow ups and they got new powers and they've been training for 6 months and they're all badass and then they all get their asses handed to them right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I just about broke down when Yami actually had to ask Asta for help, and that gave him like the energy to like get up and fight. I was like, man, this is so sick. This is like All Might Deku vibes, which is great because it's the same American voice actor.
Yeah.
All Might is,
and that's what I like
Yami.
too about like Yami's character is we still don't really know who he is. He's
I
from
love
another
it. They
kingdom.
tease things here and there, but they don't like fully give all the information. It's like, you know what? Play with it. It's fine.
Black Clover is one of those shows where I've tempted to read the manga to see how the story goes, but then it's like I don't want to,
It's not the same.
It's not
the same.
I've done that. It's just like Demon Slayer's done that to me. Jujutsu Kaisen's done that to me. So many shows that I love, it's just like I want to know, but it's like I want to see it. But it's also like you can read it too because now you have the voices in your head to be able to do that. But it's also just like Demon Slayer. I just realized I don't want to do it because the animation on that is, pardon my French, fucking beautiful. That the way that they upped it for the little mini movie to the Swordsmith arc was just even when they were in that Infinity Castle. It was just like, my God, this is crazy. So with Black Clover, it's just like I think we know how many manga that they have, and so they usually could figure that each episode is usually like 2 or 3 issues, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
The podcast is really the reason that I don't give into the manga because I want my listeners to have like my genuine reaction of how I feel about things, not like I know what's happening.
Okay.
If it wasn't for the show, I probably would have given in and started reading ahead on a lot of these things by now. But like, I can't do that to the listeners. I think my goofy personality just has to fully bleed into how I react to these things.
And it doesn't help either when you walk into like Walmart and Target now. They have a whole section of like omnibus for manga where it's just like, God.
It's like, I'm glad that we're getting the opportunity to spend money on these things now, but at the same time, chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
My favorite arc was when Asta was visiting Rebecca, and then Noelle was like pretending to be like a server at the restaurant to spy on them, and they had that arc with what was the mirror guy's name?
Gauche.
Yeah, when Gauche's sister gets kidnapped with all the other kids and they're in the snow mountain.
Marie.
I think that one's my favorite is because that was like the first part that really got me like fully hooked on what the story and what this action was. The fact that this one little event that was supposed to be on their day off built up to this all-out fight, to find out that the Midnight Suns were involved, to Yami having to come in, and then that fight getting even bigger, to even more captains coming in before they had to break up. Like, that was the first one that really got me. I was like, I am sold on the show. I am all in. Like, I am not sleeping for 2 months. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it built to, like you said, a little side adventure to like the capital being attacked and just all this stuff. But
there's only one arc in this show that really felt fillery, and I actually haven't checked if it is or not, but it was the devil cult. When Asta was on trial, they had the mask and they like turned it upside down.
Oh yeah.
That was the only thing that I was like, I didn't really care for that, but overall everything else has just been phenomenal.
I think that probably was because it last because it was outside of that thing too, because it was more just like they worship the devil, but it's not that devil, but they're actually, supposed to be fighting the devils and stuff like that. So I don't know. That didn't seem very long, but then it ended up with, them. Wasn't that the one where they ended up in that zone where the mana was all weird and shit like that? And
it's like between every country, there's like these mana zones.
Yeah, between all the kingdoms, it's like this mountain range where it's like mana is basically you have that, and it's like the force. It's like magic. And Asta is the only guy that doesn't have it, but yet he has like anti-mana and anti-magic. And then just the way he's able to You like, especially like in later in the season 4, where he ends up being able to fly because he could just ride his sword, where everyone else can like has the power of flight because of the magic.
At
Yeah, there's
first, when neither of them could fly and they had to hitch a ride all the time, that was hilarious.
yeah, and it was usually like with they were riding with Magna on that
Yeah.
broom of his that was like all like souped up and like hot rodded and
And
yeah.
then Noelle
I
was
guess the
like, I
one
guess I can give you a ride. And then she couldn't fly either, so they kept crashing into everything.
talk about a frustrating character, and I think it's just because Noelle's family is a bunch of just like assholes.
Douchebags.
But her, I mean, you could totally tell she digs Asta, like she's
Oh,
into
yeah.
him.
Not subtle
But
about it.
he's below her, and then the way that she fights with, or like is the jealousy with,
Mimosa?
the, yeah, Mimosa Vermilion.
Yeah.
It's just like
I ship them.
I would those two, yeah, because she is another one because she is in the Golden Dawn, right? Because she's with
Mm-hmm.
but her whole family, the Vermilions, are like the I can't think of the name of the fire people.
Fuegoleon, Leo, and I have it
I know
up.
that
Where is it?
Marileona
Marileona.
is this. Yeah, that's the sister who's now.
Yeah, so
But
those
they're
are the three
basically like,
siblings.
yeah, they're all the fire users, and they're the head of. I can't think of the name of that team, but it's like she's not like Noelle. Every one of hers are on like the peacocks or whatever, and they think that she doesn't have magic, and so her magic when she started off the show was just like
Crimson Lion.
the Crimson Light. Yeah, so Noelle's her family, she didn't. They basically like disowned her,
Yeah.
and then she went to the Black Bulls. Are like the team that nobody um like there's no structure to them. They're a squad.
Yeah.
It's like all the misfits, the people that
Mm-hmm.
don't fit in anywhere. Hence where we've got Noelle, whose family is royalty, but her magic at the beginning is like just wild and erratic. And but
Yeah.
once she finally gets it under control, it's like, oh man, she's pretty damn powerful. So
I mean, this kind of goes into what I really want to talk about is favorite moments. And when she hit that water dragon for the first time, when they were
uh-huh.
underwater, that blew me away. Like I was jumping and cheering with how excited I was for her at that point because she didn't have to just worry about this pesky shield anymore. Like she was really contributing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
each
every
one of
time she
those.
has a glow up like that, I'm like, good for you. And she's building a better relationship with her brother because she knows the truth of it all, even though the other two siblings are douche canoes. But the fact that she's actually recognized now and she knows her potential and she's getting this confidence in herself, like she has had the biggest glow up of anybody in this show.
Yeah. And I think it benefits her when other people that are older mention and they see that she reminds them a lot of her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom was a powerful magic user, but died during childbirth of her. And so that's why the siblings sort of, resent her for that. And she's the runt and she didn't have good enough power
Yeah.
at the beginning or control. But,
And it turns out that the oldest was only saying all that, negative stuff to her so that she would be a knight and she would be safe,
yeah,
which was, oh, the feels. All the
sometimes
feels.
tough love like that is sort of just like make a little bit of like not so tough love sometimes too,
Yeah,
because
right?
then resentment builds up, and then sometimes it gets to the point where you can't turn back from it, and it's like,
That's what
yes, I'm doing
Yami's
this
there
for your own
for.
good. Yeah. I'm just looking at like a picture of like all the people that are in the Black Bulls, and it's just like problem,
It's so
problem,
cute.
problem, problem. I mean, let's go like Luck Volta. That guy is super powerful, but he just wants to fight all the time. And he seems like he's always happy all the time, but he always wants to fight all the time.
God, if
And
him and
he's
Goku ever met, it would be over.
is Luck that powerful though? Because he's gotten his ass handed to him a couple times, but for the most part, he's just like
But he's gotten his ass handed to him like people way above his league.
right.
But like even when they were training in the Diamond Kingdom, it was Diamond, right? The one they're protecting right now.
No, Diamond Kingdom is the one that is attacking
Oh, Heart Kingdom, excuse
the
me.
Heart Kingdom. And the Diamond
Yeah, so when
Kingdom
they
is
did the
the
training over there, like the spirits and stuff, like he could keep up, and Magna like had to leave because he just couldn't keep up with
yeah.
anybody anymore. So it's like, I think Luck, Noel, and Asta are probably top three in the Black Balls, right?
As far as power goes, yeah, because the wild card is Zora. He's the one that came on late. He's the one that
Mm-hmm.
sort of when they were doing the games came and was acting as a different person. He's the dude that has like
Yeah,
the black mask with the teeth.
he does
Um,
traps.
yeah, um, yeah. Most of the definitely I'm looking at because it's like Charmy's powerful, but is very erratic. She's the cutest one though, man. When she's just like when she went to the Queen of the Heart Kingdom, it just was like sitting on her lap eating the whole
She kept doing
time.
that to the king too, and I was like, "Have you no respect for royalty, ma'am?"
Gauche, I mean, he just gets his nosebleeds when he thinks about his sister
That's
Marie.
so weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Finral can just do like the teleportation. Gray, that's just like the weirdest thing because half the time, like for the first 50 episodes, you think that it's just this big blob in person, but it ends up being this little girl who is so insecure about everything that that's her like way of not seeing who she really is.
It's funny
Uh,
because when the theme song "Guess Who's Back" came up, like they have like the little profile shots of everybody before the title comes up, and Gray came up in her actual form. And I kept going like, who is this person? But it didn't click to me that Gray's big form was like missing in that the whole time. And then when it popped up, I was like, oh.
that's what sometimes the intro, if it's for like a season and they're doing it, can be kind of like, okay, it's cool to listen to, but if you look
Mm-hmm.
at it too much, just case in point, when I was doing my rewatch of One Piece, for about 20 episodes, they had Nico Robin in the intro as part of the Straw Hat crew, but in the show, she's one of like the bad guys. It's just
Yeah.
like for people watching it go for the first time, going like, why is she hanging around with the Straw Hats when right now she's trying to like kill
Yeah.
everyone in Alabasta? So stuff like that. But
Yeah.
uh,
Another. Sorry, go ahead.
Vanessa, the witch
Yeah.
that just drinks too much, but
Dude, that whole arc was wild. That was another one where it's like, how is this still going on?
oh, which one? The one where they go back to the witch forest?
Yeah, so it's like doing the forest and then dealing with the tasks and then being attacked and then the witch attacking them. And then I was like, oh my God, you guys cannot get your break.
Yeah, because how long was it too? Where when Asta was immobilized, when he couldn't, they finally had to go. What did they do to him when he was under? When they went to the thing, and then they had to finally go to the witch, like the queen witch, and it's just like they
Oh, he didn't
lifted
have
what.
his arms. His
Yeah,
arms got sealed because of the fight underwater before.
yeah, and so that, I mean, that was a good, when you're watching it. It was probably a good 20, 25 episodes. You got to think when you're watching this weekly, what's back in the day was just like, my God, freaking.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, it's just like he can't do anything. The only other person I have here is Henry, who's the guy that lives in
We
Black Bulls.
love Henry.
Yeah, except for he sucks all the power away from everyone. That
It
could
was
end up.
really awesome during the elf arc when they had like this perfect cycle of the food was being made for Vanessa to reload her
Mhm.
powers, and then Henry was like driving the Power Ranger version of the house, and
Yeah,
it was a cool cycle that they had going where it was all support and just infinite power.
yeah,
It's like
and I think for a while
keep
too, when
eating
they were doing
everyone.
it, they were doing all that, but then Henry was also like sapping the power while they were redoing it. So because basically, like if you
Hmm.
eat the food the Charmies like they make, it replenishes your
Restores
mana.
mana.
But yeah,
We
but
forgot
then
about Nero, who has interesting backstory of being like what 80 some years old. The bird.
oh yeah, and that's what's her name is Sikra, the one that is
Oh,
the
I forgot her real name.
but she's the one that the whole time she's sitting there because they got the birds that
Just pecking at
just
Asta all the time.
yeah, because it's like they're sitting there and there's they go to the people that have no mana, and when they were in the training for like getting selected, it says that all the birds are flying around Asta.
Uh huh. It was also really funny when Nero was in her human form mode, and her and Asta were talking about like when she used to sleep in the same room and stuff, and Noelle is just fuming. It's
Mhm.
just like, oh my god, they were always together. They slept together. They did this. They did that.
But yet she
Her
has
freak out was amazing.
no feelings for Asta.
Oh no, she just beats the living daylights out of him every time she compliments
Yeah.
him.
It's almost
Yeah.
like that she's like has like a kindergartner's mentality. Like, I like the boy, but I'm just gonna, be mean to him and hit him all the time.
Oh, I totally forgot that the Black Bulls have a vice captain, the Knocked Faust.
Yeah, who doesn't show up, but he's one of those ones at the end he's in the last episode that airs
Badass.
where he sits there and basically um shows Asta how to like come to terms with his devil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's just like for the longest time I was saying like they don't have a vice one, and he doesn't show up until near the end.
Yeah.
But then he's kind of important too because he seems kind of, again, every one of the Black Bulls is a little bit like there's something off about them.
Oh yeah. Um, Other notable moments. There was one that we teased out a little bit, but I don't think we gave enough appreciation to how badass it was. Was when Finral was fighting his brother. I
Mm-hmm.
was not ready for how intense that got because he was already beaten, but then his brother was just straight up about to kill him. The way that Magna, Luck, and Asta all showed up, like in the blink of an eye, was one of the coldest scenes in anime I have ever seen. And the way that they threatened him and the way that they were in his face, I was like, oh my god. I think the whole next day, like I just found a TikTok of it. I just kept watching it on loop. I was like, this is insane, dude.
Yeah, and the thing is though that his brother is uh an arrogant. Basically, he's an arrogant little prick
Mm-hmm.
because he grew up and he is he was the vice captain of the Golden Dawn and was like the youngest vice captain and was
Yeah.
on pace to be the oldest vice or the youngest captain or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he just like is just an ass.
Yeah.
And then he challenges for the vice captainship, and beats him, and then he like just seemingly just like, I'm out of here, I'm done.
Yeah, and then he was
Walking.
supposed to be like the head honcho of his clan
Mm-hmm.
because Finral just wasn't as great as he was or whatever. So in just heartbreaking story. There's a lot of like sibling controversies in the show. It
Oh yeah,
really stretches out. Um, but that scene was just so cold and it was insane. But on the flip end of like an amazing to watch scene was when they had the games, but it was against the captains.
yeah,
That was so much fun to watch because you got to see everyone at their peak and what they were capable of and just how they were able to cooperate but also like deal with each other. Just the matchups was insane. And I'm sad that we haven't gotten like more of this dream captain because she is incredible and such a delight to listen to. But the fact that she was sleeping for the first half of the show was just like,
oh
come on, dude, like you robbed us.
Dorothy.
Yeah. The
She
way
was
that he
badass.
uses his dimension slash like through her world and just not destroyed the crystal so there was no clear winner. I was like, that was a good way to do it because there's no way you could have a winner between these.
Her character in the Dark Elf arc was fantastic because they got
Mm-hmm.
she was basically possessing them in the dream world, and then they're like, oh, we're getting out, and then it just goes to another dream, and then it's sitting there just like they think we found a way to do it, and like, nope, still dreaming, and it's just, yeah, most of the captains have a very distinct, like, what was it, the green mantises? Jack the Ripper is the main
Mm-hmm.
guy, and basically his main thing is like he has this really under like a rivalry with and it's, or sorry, Yami,
Yami.
and it's just like, okay, where does this come from? And sometimes it even goes down to like them cooking and stuff like that, where like they're always at
Yeah.
odds with each other. Sort of like, I mean, Asta and is obvious because they grew up together and they were
Yeah.
always rivals, but it always seems like they have each other's back when it comes down to it, even though their
Mm-hmm.
both goal is to be the Wizard King.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brotherly love and just kind of like healthy competition.
Yeah.
Really is an incredible character. Speaking of the mantises, the fact that Jack forgot that Seke was on his crew.
Yeah.
Haha! All of
Exactly.
his puns of just like throwing haha like into a sentence always get me, and then he gets like roped into being like the king's right hand because he like accidentally saved him, and it's
Yeah,
just
he saved him, and so that he was the king's bitch for like the
yep.
last half of the show, and he's just like he doesn't know what to do and how to get out of it. But
It's
he
like
was also
run.
sort of just like, I mean, he was a jerk to Asta, like at the Magic Knights, like the first trial thing, and he was like
Yeah.
tricking him and stuff. And but yeah, when he ends up doing that, because Asta's always, hey, you're the haha guy, aren't you? And then he'd get all like sad about it, and he's
Why
just
is
sitting
this
there with.
happening to me?
Yeah. Speaking of the king, man, what a piece of work that guy is, King Clover.
I think that's your
And
favorite character based off our text.
he's such just like a doof. He just hates. He's one of those guys that the the Wizard King Julius Novachromo does all this stuff, and then the king hates him because he's more popular than the king is. But then he always like takes the credit, and then he thinks everyone's cheering at him, and then especially when they made like that group where it was all the people that went to it was like the the special knights of the Magic Knights, and it's like the King's Guard or whatever it was, and he's like, yeah, this is all, but it wasn't his idea. But he takes credit for it because he basically, most of the time they show him, he's like sitting on his throne or sitting in a bed, and he's like all the people around him, and just like he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's just worthless. He's
That
comic relief. That's about it.
that scene of when what was his name? The Golden Dawn's captain. Vengeance.
Oh, yes, not
His reveal when he came up to Julius and revealed that they could like switch, souls within the body and stuff. I did not see that coming. That blew me away, and I was so sad when Julius went down, and the way that Yami had to protect his body, like the care that he has for Julius is just beautiful.
Well, even on that end, like the Vangelis's and Yami's relationship, because theirs goes back to when they were like first. I mean, because then Vangelis was the one that
When they were
pulled
like
Yami
rookies.
in. Yeah, they were like basically starting in, because all we know about Yami is that he's from another land. So he's probably, I think though, we don't know much about like the Spade Kingdom. I think there's one of the kingdoms where they haven't really talked about, because the hearts are where they're training. The diamonds are the ones that is the prince of the deposed king, and they're attacking.
Yeah, that's
everyone.
the one that just got invaded by the Spades.
Okay, so the Spades are the bad guys.
Yes.
There's the diamonds, the bad guys.
I think the Spades are the bad guy. The diamonds. Do you remember the other guy that when they were looking for the treasure in the raid room?
Oh yeah,
I think he was from Diamond.
Right, and they're the ones that
so him and Fauna are together in Diamond.
Okay, so the Spades. Okay, that's right. So that's like, so he, is the prince of the deposed king of the Spade Kingdom.
Yes,
that's it. Okay, there's it's a lot of it's been a while since I've seen it, so we got to end up getting there. So, but yeah, I think one of my favorite moments is when Yami chooses Asta to be a Black Bull, even though he's just like, he likes the kid, he knows he has no magic power. And then even the scene, like when he gets his grimoire and it's the 5-leaf one, because everyone's like, oh, gets the 4-leaf one, which is like the most powerful one. But the 5-leaf one is the one that's possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
And the one group of kids are like, the two guys are attacking Asta in like that alleyway. And because he has no magic power, and comes in and like saves him. And it's just sort of like, okay, now we can see what he could do. But having him then becoming a Black Bull and just seeing he knows that he has to train hard in everyone in order to be powerful, because he's still, even though he has no lick of magic, he wants to be the Wizard King.
Yeah.
And some of his training regimens, man, it's just like, holy crap. Because by the time you see him, man, he gets he's jacked by the end. Like he is just like ripped like Jesus, man.
You remember the scene when he was called in by Julius to clear the curses off the possessed people, and he just took the butt of his sword and went boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop, boop.
And they're doing that, doing some of it like in like an anime when they do like the more cartoony type stuff.
Yeah.
And he does that too. It's just like, man.
Another really cool concept of this is that we have 4 elements and there's a spirit for each one. Salamence's story is super fascinating. How he was initially with Fauna when she was one of the Midnight Sun elves, and then when like her spirit passed on, when she was kind of like back in her own personality, like Salamence needed like a new host. And all this time we had been wondering like the fate of Fuegoleon. We were shocked when he lost his arm, and then like when Leo was pushing back the elves, the way that he had his entrance and had that firearm and Salamence with him, I was like, oh my god, this was so gratifying to have to wait for him to come back. This is incredible.
Yeah, it reminded me of just recently too, seeing like you've probably already talked about it on. I haven't gotten up to that yet, but like when Best Jeanist shows up and Mario too, they both show up like, we thought they were like not powerful or dead, and now they're back, and it's like, holy cow, you forget about them because there are so many very interesting and great characters on this show. So much so, like they started releasing recently like Funko Pops for all the Black Clovers, and I'm like, oh my god, they've only have 10 so far. I need them to, I need Yami, I need Gordon, I need all these guys. Start doing it. So far, we got.
I only remember 4.
No, I'm looking at we got Dorothy, Jack, we got Charlotte and Charla, which is it was a chase version, which is her elf version. Noelle, Luck, Marileona, and and there's 2 Lucks. There's one with him and his when he gets all like
paycheck again.
So I'm looking at my wall here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But there's 2 Charlottes and 2 Lucks. So 8 characters so far.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I need space. I need space and a paycheck.
That helps.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
So that was the fire spirit, and then we have the wind spirit, which is a lot more brattier than I ever expected. Like her dialogue sometimes is like, somebody please step on her. For God's sake, somebody says she's so jealous too.
Oh yeah.
The way that her and Asta go back and forth, like Asta's the biggest threat to her.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Just because I don't know.
Yeah. And then we just have the loving nature of the water one, but it is just kind of cool seeing like how impactful they are and how different they are, and just the way that they contribute to like this world of mana, which keeps getting bigger and bigger. I'm very impressed with the show.
Yeah.
Last thing on our docket, do you have a favorite song or favorite songs?
I can say, okay, so I listened to Spotify's got a Black Clover opening and closing credits one.
I've been listening to the Apple Music version of that.
It's perfect because even like the slower songs, like 4 or beautiful, the way it is on the ending credits of the last like episode 170 when they're doing, it's not like an ending credit where it's they're showing you the credits. It's actually like the show, the last episode goes all the way till the end, so they're playing the ending music with some of the credits, but they're still showing scenes going on.
Yeah.
But as far as like the ones that hit you, as far as like our bops are Guess Who Is Back?
Yep.
Grandeur. I just love that one because that one is just, that's the one at the last episode too. It's the last
so
opening credit.
It was when when we were all hyped up for everyone's glow ups and everything. Like,
There's 2 songs by this guy named
Vika Blanca.
It's Black Catcher and Black Rover.
Yep.
Those ones, especially the use of the heavy guitars, but also piano in them too, is just really cool. And I think that the original, the first Haru Kamirai, which is the first opening song, they use it a lot because they use it too, like when they're doing like the flashbacks. It's sort of like One Piece's We Are. It's like the one
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, it's like the one that it's the first opening, and so that's the one. Like I'm sure, like with that Demon Slayer, that first opening song is like people recognize that most of the theme, and it's like they use it as like an overture, or they do like they'll recall it a lot and
whenever they do their montages and stuff.
Yeah, like that. So, but every one of them there's not a single one. I find myself humming, even like Against All Gods or that Swanky Dank song. The one that Do You Want to Die? Do You Want to Die?
Amazing Dreams.
Amazing Dreams. Yeah. So yeah, it's just all the songs on it are just. It's like reminds me of like I have that and I listen to that with like the One Piece stuff too. Every song reminds you of when you hear a song. It also puts you in the mindset of like, okay, this song reminds me of this arc because it was the song that was always playing for that arc too. So,
like whenever I hear Black Catcher, the way that it starts with just the piano, like I always picture Nero like falling from the sky during that piano part, and then her just turning back into the bird and flying. It's so beautiful. Another cool thing that I really appreciated was on the earlier seasons when the show was ending, the music would start as it was finishing up the dialogue and then like roll into the credits instead of it just being like a hard stop into the credits. I thought that was really impressive. But my favorite song, I mean, you named 4 of my top 5, so way to break that. But the same people that did Grandeur, Snowman, are the ones that did Stories.
Yes,
which is my absolute favorite. Like, there's just like an emotional reaction to listening to that song. But
that's my last one on I got Stories listed. That was like awesome. that and Rakugaki Page, which is the the heavy guitar one, but that one is more like it's really great music, but then the vocals on it come in. It's really I don't like it when you have a fast vocal and then like a slow it's like it's a slower, longer vocals. It's like it doesn't seem to fit, but that jam is just so good. It's like it's not there's no skippers like when you're listening to. I have it on like I'm working or whatever, and it's just like a lot of the songs, even like I said, the slower songs too are just really great music. So I think
does Spotify have Grandeur and Stories?
Yep, they got Grandeur, but it's by Miura Jam.
Okay, so
it's the dub version.
Okay,
but it sounds like a lot of the guys sounds like
they do a good job. Like I have the Studio Yuriki one of Grandeur too, but like I don't get what it is with Snowman. Like you can only find their stuff on YouTube. You can't purchase it anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere. Like, let me support you. You have 2 incredible songs that never leave my brain.
You know what's really funny too about this, and it seems like it's like that way in a lot of anime, is that when they're singing in Japanese, a lot of the songs also they switch into English a lot of times too. Like where it's just like I'll be looking at, especially on Spotify when they have the show the lyrics, it'll just be the Japanese characters and then English word, Japanese character, English word. So some of them are very obvious they don't speak English very well because they're doing the L's and R's switch off and they're not pronouncing, they're putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. So they're not doing, but it's nothing to like bat an eye over because I'm listening to it. Just like most of the time I'm like, I don't care what they're saying. The melody of the vocals and the song itself are just great.
Yeah, that's all you need. Have you ever seen that meme where it's like, I only know one line of the song, but I'm going to go hard on it every time it comes on?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about like the one English part whenever it comes to these songs. It's like, I know this part.
That's why I was surprised. I mean, I get confused sometimes too, because I was listening to them interchangeably, but that the Fire Force, the Mayday intro, or like the opening song.
I love Mayday, especially because I've listened to Rio on Crystal Lake so much before that.
That song just is like it. You could listen to it and it'll just like that's on my like my exercise like pump up songs. Like I'll listen to like Muse Hysteria and then like Mayday will come on. Like I'm telling you,
I have Inferno and then Mayday right after.
Yeah, that's why I said manga or animes are great with picking music that just. Even sometimes when you listen to it outside of the context, it's like, how does this song fit with this show? It just does.
So don't listeners, if anybody wants BVK's or my anime playlists, just let us know in the email, animation deliberation podcast @gmail.com. We'll happily share it.
I've got on my Spotify. I mean, some of them are curated by me, some of them are curated by other people, but on my
I'm
Spotify that
proud
I've
of my
downloaded
curation.
is I've got Black Clover, I've got Fairy Tail, I got My Hero, I got like 4 different One Piece ones. I've got the like a Fire Force. It's
I throw
just
some Naruto ones in there.
so. Like I said, if the animation was better on that show, I'd watch it. So
fuck you. I hate what Andrew's done.
I was listening to some.
The disrespect.
Oh man.
I think that's all I got. I mean, I'm sure we could talk for another 3 hours about every other anime out there, but
Yeah, I mean, this was like a Black Clover plus, but it always like
definitely.
It
We
always
haven't caught up in a while either, so it was well overdue.
It always like finds its way back to what we need to talk about anyway. So
yeah. Anything that you would like to plug for your show?
Just come listen to Source Pages. We handle comics mainly, sometimes novels. We talk about them as primers or continuations or adaptations for TV shows or movies. We just did where we are in the middle of, we just recorded our 3rd episode of the 2014 or 2015 Secret Wars, which is
nice.
The whole thing together is 140 issues of comics, and it's a bunch of tie-ins, but it seems like that's the way. It has a lot to do with the multiverse and what's going on in the MCU, and those are actually been doing really well. We basically do stuff. We got some stuff coming up for Guardians 3, where we're gonna focus one episode on Adam Warlock, one episode on High Evolutionary, just to get you a little more used to characters in their comic forms before you see them in the movie, so you sort of know what the motivation is. Marvel is really good at taking a character or a storyline, but not giving you exactly what you've read already. So
nice. Yeah, June is going to be a very busy month for the both of us.
Oh yeah, especially because with Secret Invasion and there's just movies and TV shows and
got Spider-Verse, Flash, Elements, Indiana Jones, and Transformers.
Yeah, there's a lot of we mainly there's some things that we just basically don't cover because we have
it's too much.
We basically, Marvel's our main thing. We do Star Wars, we do some DC stuff. For the Shazam Fury of the Gods, Andrew from this show was on there because he's our sort of our DC go-to guy, and he picked a run that we were just like, oh, how is this going to fit? And it actually helped a lot with understanding a lot of the stuff in the movie. So yeah, nice. We get it. That's our main feedback we get is, man, listening to this show actually gives me a little bit better, understanding of what I'm watching before and after I see it. So
yeah,
we appreciate it.
All right, so check out Source Pages, leave them a review after you're done leaving us a 5-star review. BVK, thanks for joining on this special edition of Anime Deliberation.
Yes. We finally got to do one.
More to come in the future.
2 years in the making.
Anime Deliberation, a special edition of Animation Deliberation. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to tune in next time. That's TOONIN, and as always, stay whelmed.
Be excellent to each other.